Good morning. Today we are headed to Blue Grotto because I am doing a rescue diver class, and this is our car all packed up with all of our gear. We've got all of our dive gear. I think we've got about 2 wetsuits each and hoods and everything we need for the class, so we are going to drive on over there. I think the day is supposed to be 100% rainy all day long, so it's going to be quite the experience. I'm going to brush up a little bit. I've been rereading my book over the last week, and I think I'm going to just read the highlights again as we drive over there. I signed up for the class, oh my gosh, over a year ago, and because of the pandemic we had to put it off. We got our vaccines, so now we're ready to slowly re-enter society. So this is what's next. And here comes wah, wah, wah. Hi Kiki. Here comes a whiny cat. And here we are, fully packed. We are packed up and ready to go. The class I'm taking is the NAUI Rescue Scuba Diver class. So this is the book that I'm going to be reading on the way. I've already read it. I've already highlighted it. I've already been over it a couple times, but I guess I'm just a little bit nervous because we're going to dive in a spring, and diving in a spring is really cold, and I'm not completely sure what all maneuvers we have to perform during this class, so I'm a little bit nervous about that, although the instructor has given me plenty of hints of things I need to think about and do. And I guess because I'm nervous, I tend to over-prepare, so I'm going to read again all the highlighted sections and make sure that my mind is on it. So this is our first dive in a year. Because of COVID, we weren't diving, we weren't going anywhere, we weren't filling tanks, we weren't doing any of that. We were just trying to kind of stay home and stay safe. So it's our first weekend outing in a year. Our first weekend outing in over a year. Yeah, I think Leap Day last year was our last dive. We dove with some friends down in the Bahamas. We saw a lot of sharks, and that was our last dive. So it's been almost a year. Wait, Leap Day, February 29th. It's been a year and a week since we dove, so this is going to be a refresher plus learning. I think we're ready to go. Here, and we're thinking there's a pretty good possibility that we will have the place all to ourselves because it's a very dismal day. All the women's club flea markets and roadside stands are rained out. We've arrived at Blue Grotto. Looks like there's a dive group in the pool. And don't forget the pressers, money. We've got a little sign station right here, and yeah, looks really different in there now. I'm going to get signed in, get ready to get we're working on signing up stuff. Pretty wet here. Pretty wet. Got my mask on. All signed up. I already had completed the test months and months ago, so now it was time to do the in the water portion of the Rescue Scuba Diver course. My first challenge was my instructor was at the surface, and he was flailing around and impersonating someone who is in distress on the surface. I had to time my approach from behind so that I wouldn't get kicked or get my mask pushed off, and take hold of him and let him know that it was okay, make sure he was okay, and then proceed to tow him to shore. So that was the first of the skills portion of the class. The next part was going to be where I had to lift someone off the bottom and rescue them, bring them to another platform in the dive site. I am the diver with the hot pink tanks. No, I did not choose those colors. They were given to me very graciously by a friend whose wife was no longer using them, and it turns out that they make it really easy to figure out which diver I am when we're underwater. I also have the blue fins. The other diver that is there with us in the all black is my instructor. The other diver that it just submerged. That was also my dive partner, Mark, who was wearing a camouflage looking wetsuit. He said it was something called open cell foam, which I'm not that familiar with, and before he put it on, he sprayed the inside with, I believe, a mixture of conditioner and water. We're on one of the platforms. The next skill that we're going to do is to take our mask off as if it was knocked off of our face, and we have to wait for our partner to bring it back to us. It takes 2 minutes to get it back to us. My dive instructor, Chet, is to my right or to your left, and I'm watching the other diver, Mark, go first. And I really didn't know what to expect. I know that I don't get really upset. I know that I'm pretty calm. And of course, in a situation like this where I trust that someone is going to hand my mask back to me, I know that it's going to come back to me. Plus, we were in fresh water. I noticed him peeking a couple times, and I decided I was not going to peek because I couldn't tell how long the time was anyway. I was just going to concentrate on breathing calmly and slowly. But there were a few surprises to this exercise, so I am really glad that we did it. The first surprise was I had no idea how cold the water was actually going to feel against my face. When you have your mask on, it is keeping air around your face, and that air is probably warmed up by your skin. I didn't really realize just how cold the bubbles were going to be going across my face. Here, my dive partner, my usual dive partner, Bill, is going around and filming us. There were all these fish that were everywhere. There's a turtle that I think you're going to see a little bit later that was really curious. We thought it was either going to bite us or kiss us. Now my dive instructor is telling me it's time to give him his mask back, to signal to him that he has the mask, and he's got to clear it. And the extra thing here is that with diving in a spring, because we had a hood on, you know that when you put your mask on, it may or may not seal against that hood. I wasn't worried about that because I can go slowly and pull my hood back, but Mark said he knew that that was going to be a little bit of a trouble for him. I'm the next one to go, and I'm not at all nervous about this, which is a good thing. I was already quite prepared that 2 minutes was going to feel like an eternity, especially with your eyes closed and in the dark. What I didn't realize was how quickly I would have to put my hand over my nose because the cold water that wants to go up your nose. And the next thing was I was shocked at how cold my eyes were. It was like an ice cream, an ice cream headache? I really had a little bit of trouble with that. And I thought, oh my gosh, the air bubbles going past my face are so cold. And a couple times I tried to warm up my face. And then I decided I would just relax and go with it. And I wouldn't necessarily say enjoy the moment, but use all of my senses, my hearing, my vision through my eyelids to just orient myself and stay calm. I noticed that one of my knees kept floating up off the platform while the other one stayed put, so every once in a while I'm moving my right arm to try and get that knee to stay back down. I felt like with the 5mm wetsuit I was slightly underweighted this day, and that's just one of the things you have to compensate for. We weren't as deep as I had thought, so I guess my wetsuit wasn't as compressed. My dive instructor is signaling to my dive partner Mark to hold off a minute, don't give me the mask back, and boy, I will tell you, it was a long time. What I used we have our Florida School for the Deaf and Blind in St. Augustine, Florida, and a lot of times I think about the adaptations that blind people make toward their situation, and so I was aware of the change in temperature around me. I also could feel the light, or I guess you would say I could kind of see the light from above through my eyelids. And the other sneaky thing I did was I knew that I was keeping myself oriented. Bill was filming and using a flash, not a flash, but a light on his camera, and I could always tell exactly where he was, and he's my usual dive partner. I could feel exactly where he was because I could feel which direction the light was coming from, and that was just a really good way to orient myself. And at this point, I probably was a little bit slower than you would think about putting my mask back on, but I'm thinking through the steps very carefully. And the first thing I wanted to do was not do a beginner mistake and put my mask on upside down. So first I'm feeling to make sure I know exactly where the nose portion of it is. I wasn't worried about my hood because I knew I could push my hood back. I guess girls with our hair, we know that we always have something in the way of the mask and it might not seal. So that didn't really worry me at all. I've got on a Ralph Tech 5mm. It's like a semi-dry suit, And I will have to say it really kept me warm and I really appreciated it. This next section, this was the part where we're doing a rescue and you have to inflate the other person's BC in order to lift them up off the ground. I thought I was never going to get this guy up off the ground, and he did say later that he probably had overcompensated and was way overweighted because he thought his suit was going to make him float a lot more. The next adaptation in this rescue, where I had to move him from one rock over to another platform, was I realized that once I got him off the ground, I had a lot more control of the air in my own BCD, and so I could either inflate or deflate myself. The carry position was a little bit awkward. I've never really practiced that before, and I think Bill and I are going to do some more practice with this. I found that I had to loop my arm through his arm and then really grab the back of his BCD in order to keep control of him. At this point, I felt like I was just floundering on the bottom. I felt like I was this amateur silting everything up. You can see the clouds of silt coming up. I'm sure everyone around us is just going, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking, if I don't get off the ground here pretty quickly, my dive instructor, Chet, is going to come tell me to redo this exercise. So I got a little bit more aggressive about inflating that BC and headed up toward the platform. The thing is, I was concentrating so much on getting this person to the platform that I probably didn't realize the other people that were around us. I was really in my head. The timer was ticking. I'm thinking I've got to keep moving. But there were a lot of other divers here at the Springs. I think what's going on with COVID is they're not doing boat dives, and so everybody's coming to the Springs to either take classes or practice things. And at this point, I didn't want to bang his ankles onto the platform, and here comes somebody else and somebody else, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's this big wreck here. And of course, all the fish are everywhere. So I did get him to the platform. I think I'm going to practice this skill a few more times. I did not feel like I did it as gracefully as I could have. I felt like I was so cautious in inflating his BC that I didn't lift him up quickly enough. But this is probably happened all a lot faster than I think. It just felt like time was standing still, which is probably a good thing. When situations go bad on a boat or in diving, I think it's really good in your mind to just slow everything down and really think things through. Stop and think before you do anything that would be sort of reckless. And here he said he was having trouble getting up because he had so much extra weight in his BCD pockets. He was all right, but he just couldn't get up off the ground. It's really interesting to have someone video you when you're performing maneuvers, because then you can go back and you can analyze it, just like with any sport. You can see, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? This is Virgil, the resident turtle. Even though it has a boy's name, I think it's a girl turtle, a female turtle. Bill said he thought it was going to come take a bite out of the lens, and then it came toward us, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to come take a bite out of us. There it goes. It is so used to people. I think Bill said once Virgil realized that there was no food, off she went. Now we are going to head down and meet up with our dive instructor, Chet. We're going to head back down to Peace Rock, because now it's time for me to be the person to get rescued. So at this point, I have nothing to worry about. All I have to do is go lie there on the rock with no air in my BCD. My dive partner, Mark, will inflate my BCD and pick me up off the rock. One of the things that we had to worry about was there's a bit of a ledge, and so it's, I wouldn't really call it an overhead environment, but there is an overhead, and if the other person inflates your BCD too quickly, you could shoot up to that ledge and be stuck up under there. So our dive instructor, Chet, had told us to make sure, keep your eyes open, put your hands out, fend yourself off. It looks like your dive partner is going to inflate you so quickly that you end up on the ceiling. The ceiling in this place is really amazing looking because it's not flat. It has all these bumps in it, kind of like stalagmites and stalactites. I think it's the mites push up and the tights come down. But the tights that are coming down actually trap all sorts of oxygen up there. And when your light shines across it, it looks like there are all these balls of mercury. And sometimes you feel like you can actually hear the rocks creaking. So at this point, I'm lying on the rock. There's my dive instructor, Chet, to my right. And I think he's giving me some last minute tips. I think he thought I was going to fall right off the rock. off to the left, my left is my dive partner Mark, who is going to rescue me. And watching the video of him rescuing me, I have to tell you, he just swoops right in, inflates my BC, is quite quick, and just moves me fast. I think I've got to learn from his technique and realize I don't have to be quite so hesitant about inflating that BC to get somebody up off the ground. I was just so worried that I was going to send him right into the ceiling. So here he inflates my BC, he grabs hold of me, and off we go. If I had to time it, I would say, gosh, his rescue of me was the 10th the time it took me to rescue him. So at this point, I'm looking up at the ceiling and I'm thinking, oh. And I'm thinking, well, I guess this is better than what I did, which was scrape along the ground for a little bit before I got going. But look at this, we are headed through there. There was a lot of sediment in the water. I'm not sure what I would say the actual visibility was, but there was a lot of sediment in the water. There were a lot of fish that were around, and like I also said, there were a lot of divers that were around us. They were practicing different things, a lot of classes. We saw some people in the pool there. The pool's been redone. The bathrooms have been redone. While we were waiting to start our class, we had the most amazing conversation with the guy who owns the place and operates it, and actually he sold part of his share in it, and all the different places that he has worked in the Seychelles and in the Dominican Republic and in the Bahamas. And it was just amazing hearing all the different places that he's operated dive spots. See here, I think he's having a little bit of trouble getting me back down to the ground because I'm quite inflated, but that was good. That was good. I mean, he really got me off that rock. He got me to the next spot quickly, so that was great. Here comes Chet. I wonder if he was timing us. Oh my gosh. I wonder if there's a certain amount of time that if you don't accomplish this in, then you would have to redo it. I think we're going to go down to Blue Heron Bridge and redo all of these skills anyway, because all of them had aspects that I hadn't predicted. Look how gorgeous this filming Bill is doing. Look at with the fish and everything. Wow, good job, Bill. That's fantastic. You really stayed center on the rescue too. Good job filming. But anyway, yeah, I think we're going to go back to Blue Heron Bridge, and I think we're going to try all of these things again. We're going to try several other skills and just really hone our skills, do a lot of practice. Next, we decided we would do the dive where we go down through the bottom part of, it's not a cave. You go down a line, and the line goes down into darkness way down there, and we were going to head down there and just do a deep part of the dive because we had a little bit more air. First, we went up to the bell to talk about what we were going to do, and then we headed down. The bell is this kind of unusual glass contraption with air pumped into it, and you can actually emerge. You're underwater and you're under the ledge, but you can get up into air and talk to each other. And what we decided was everybody had plenty of air, and we would do the deep part of the dive. And when we got down into the deepest part of the dive, we all covered our lights and just sat for a moment. And it was a really good opportunity for me to think about, even though I've done a lot of black water diving, to think about if you're somewhere really dark and your light does go out, are you oriented? Do you know which way is up? How are you going to feel the bubbles to know which way is up and out? And how are you going to self-rescue? So that was an unexpected but really great part of the course, was figuring that out. Springs are cold, and my 5mm wetsuit worked pretty good. It kept me a lot drier than I thought I would be, and it kept me warmer than I thought. When we first got into the water, it was really cold. But I did pass and have my certifications as rescue diver. So now, just to do some more practice of those skills and think about doing the advanced rescue diver might be the next thing that I attempt. All in all, it was a really great day. We saw the turtle, and we saw a lot of fish, and we saw a lot of scuba divers, and we practiced a lot of skills, and I learned a lot. One of the skills that we had to perform, one of the maneuvers that we had to perform while we were underwater, was to have our mask knocked off and off of our face for 2 minutes while our dive partner went after it, brought it back to us, and then we were to put it back on our face and clear the air out. Now, I'll have to tell you that I was using Stream to Sea defog today, and way up at the picnic tables is where I put 2 tiny little drops into my mask, and I smeared them around with the finger of my glove. When I got down to the spot where we were entering the water, I simply swished my mask in the water, and that's all I did. And I'll tell you, my breath was really hot, my face was really warm, I had on a hood and a 5mm wetsuit, so I was really pretty pretty warm after the initial shock of getting in the water, but my mask never fogged. It was off my face for 2 minutes, and when I put it back on and cleared it, it was not the least bit foggy. So I have to give a big shout out to Stream to Sea's Mask Defog. It is fantastic. It really worked. All in all, it was a very productive day. I'm glad we went ahead and did it. The rain has cleared up. We had good lunch right there at the picnic tables. We got to spend some time talking to the owner of the business. It was fascinating hearing all about his diving experiences in, let's see, the Seychelles, Bahamas, Freeport, Seychelles, South Africa. He had owned dive companies in a lot of places, including Italy. Where else did he say?
I want to say either Dom Rep or Haiti. I think
yes.
Probably Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic and the Dominican Republic. So it sounds like he has owned dive shops all over the place. And he told us the history of some of the things there at Devil's Den. He told us some of the history of the 1800s wells that are on the property there at Blue Grotto, and that the original owner had found these wells and they went down in them and dove way out to where there are some solar panels. That's how far that cave system goes, and I think only professional cave divers go in there. And then the section that we went into was just the regular hole with the ramps and the stairs and all of that. But it was interesting hearing about that the property had been purchased for $15 an acre back in 1965, and then by 1967 they had opened up for diving. By 1969 they had added some of the other features, and it's only changed hands 2 or 3 times, I think 3 times since it was opened back then. Really fascinating history with these sinkholes and aquifer diving in the caves and the holes here in Florida. So it was a good day. I accomplished the goal, which was to earn the Rescue Scuba Diver certification, and have to think about what's going to be next. And next diving, I think we might make it down maybe to Blue Heron Bridge and just do some really casual, a lot of photography, a lot of shallow water diving where we can dive for a long time on our tank, and that's the plan. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the footage, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. If you like the content, please make sure and click the subscribe button below and click the like. That would mean a lot to me. I really appreciate you doing that. I'll leave links to some of the things that we used below, some of the equipment that we're using. In case you're interested, it doesn't raise your cost any to purchase off my links. It just gives me a little bit on a small percentage of the sale if you buy something based on my recommendation. We spend a lot of time researching the equipment that we use. We spend a lot of time using it before I wouldn't say endorse, but before we really are comfortable with the equipment. We use it a lot before we're ready to say that we like it or not. So if I leave a link to something below, it's because we've really tested it out several times and really like it, really enjoy it. It's good quality. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful, and I hope this inspires you to either start diving or continue your own dive training.